change in the fundraising sector has never been greater. But innovations in technology are evolving faster than our ability to understand them. Are these advances good or bad? Do they have unintended consequences? And what is the application to the global fundraising sector? That's what we're here to find out. Welcome to the Fundraising AI Podcast, your up-to-date resource for responsible AI for the global fundraising community, hosted by Nathan Chappell and Scott Rosenkrantz.
Hey, we're back for another episode of the Fundraising AI Podcast. I'm Nathan Chappell.
I'm Scott Rosenkrantz. What's up?
And we're here together.
We're here.
Fist bump, high five. All right, good.
Chest bump?
No chest bump. We're not in junior high. So we're here in lovely Dallas, Texas for the Virtuous User Summit, which is our annual summit where all of our customers come together and our partners come together, and it's just super fun. My first one was last year. It was a ton of fun. I felt like it was different than a lot of other conferences because it's just like super in the weeds on like things that we're doing. And even for me, I think I know a lot of things that we're doing in AI, but new things come out of this summit that I didn't even know we were working on. And it's super cool. So glad you're here. It's going to be super fun.
Yeah, this is my first one too. And today is all partners. And I like these types of events because like there's a lot of competitors here, but we all kind of come together because we're all facing the same challenges and we're all trying to achieve the same goals with our client.
Yeah.
Right? So like we can kind of put all the nonsense aside and just say like, how do we do our work better for the better of humanity?
Yeah. I think that's the one thing about our sector that's unique, right? Is that like when I see things like, Giving Tuesday does a lot of this, Charity Navigator, Giving Institute, where like people put all their egos aside, they come together for the greater good. And for me, I just finished giving a talk and talk a little bit about that idea that AI is a moral imperative, that no longer can we sit around and just see how this goes. The health of the nonprofit sector is not great. There's been, tremendous challenges in the last 20 years. And so at this point, the address to the partners is that everyone has to roll up their sleeves and do this right, because the partners, whether you're a consulting firm or a tech partner or an implementer, you play an outsized role in what nonprofits use to either support generosity or not. And so just trying to get that point across is that those partners have a level of responsibility that they shouldn't take for granted.
Yeah, and also again the whole not just the voice that they're lending to their clients and like that advice, but also how are they using it, right? How are they making sure that they're being more efficient without being like using it responsibly as well? So it's both that internal and external conversation that I know all vendors are always having.
Yeah, so that's super fun. We're going to be doing that for the next couple of days. You and I haven't recorded a podcast together for a while. In fact, because you and I have had individual podcasts from different sponsors of Fundraising AI. So that's been fun. But there's been a bunch of things, like most people that listen to this know that we keep like an ongoing list of Apple Notes. And it's crazy even when I went back, because it's been, 3 weeks or 4 weeks maybe since we've recorded a podcast together.
Probably 4 weeks.
And in 4 weeks, things that I put on the list and you put on the list are seem like outdated and old, right?
I forgot about it.
Which is crazy, right? And some of them are big, like Claude, you were just like, oh yeah, Claude Mythos. And Claude Mythos was this model, the latest model of Claude that was so big and so profound that they decided not to release it other than to a few select financial institutions, because it's been rumored that Mythos can crack all current encryption, and that they felt that since the financial institutions they need a head start essentially to fortify their systems so that when the rest of the world gets Mythos, that they'll have already built ways to do it. So it's been wild because that was literally a month ago. And then both of us were like, wait, what's Mythos again? And it's it's just insane because of how much information, how fast that information comes. I don't know how most people stay up on things. You and I read and listen and talk about AI way more than any human should.
Yeah.
And it's completely overwhelming for the average person. You're this stuff just comes and goes. I don't even know.
Yeah, and in the 4 weeks, some of this stuff we'll get into today, but ChatGPT came out with a new model, right? 5.5. They came out with a new image model.
Yeah.
Google just had their I/O day last week and announced everything new.
Yeah.
Right? And then still getting in hot water about how they're limiting people's bandwidth.
Yeah.
And then the Pope starts talking about AI as well.
Yeah. So we got a lot to talk about. So let's start with the Pope, because this is the most current. Came out the day before yesterday, I guess. So recently, it doesn't matter, I guess, when this podcast comes out. But came out with a 42,000 word encyclical, which I'm glad you said that because I wouldn't have said it right. And I would have not made any of my Notre Dame classmates proud in that. But I don't know, did I tell you a story my first day at Notre Dame? This, like, with the dean of the school of business?
Probably, but tell me again.
Okay, so it's dean of the school of business, first day orientation in my second master's, so grad school, master's in nonprofit administration. There's about 40 people in my cohort, maybe 30 something. And the dean's like, everybody go around. It's the only time we ever saw the dean, Dean Wu. And everyone go around and say, like, why you picked Notre Dame, why you're here. And so everybody did. I happened to be last. So every single person went around and is like, well, I grew up Catholic and, like, this is the place. Like, if you're Catholic and this is the place you go, or I'm, like, super into football and this is the place. And so it's like, I'm Catholic, I'm football, I'm Catholic, I'm football. Literally, like, 30 people in a row didn't say it. And I get to it and I was like, I'm like, I think I may have made a bad decision. Like, I said this out loud. I'm like, I think I made the wrong decision because I'm not Catholic and I don't really like football. And there's complete silence in the room. And Dean Wu is like this, like, 5'4" Asian woman. And she's like, very deliberately and just quietly, she's like, Nathan, it's okay that you're not Catholic. And that was it. And so I learned at that time it was okay. Like, Catholicism was optional, but the football was not optional. Yeah. And true enough, like, after a couple, 2.5 years in grad school there, you become, like, somehow you drink the Kool-Aid. And, like, now every year I look forward to football season. And but it was like one of the funniest moments because I'm literally thinking I literally didn't read the fine print. Like, I'm not at the right place.
The brochure.
Right. So the Encyclical, right? So he wrote this 42,000 word. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay. And no matter your religious point of view, this is, I would say by every account and everyone that I've seen that's read it and commented on it, said it's the most comprehensive assessment of the current and future state of AI in juxtaposition of humanity. And so it's just kind of this thing of, like, if you, no matter your, religious orientation, that this is something that you should really, like, be aware of and read. And so I don't know, like, if you had anything stood out, or just the fact that the church itself is taking such a proactive stance, I think is something in itself.
I mean, what stood out to me, and I did not read 42,000 words, but I did watch a lot of people who did synopsis on it.
Well, it's only 118 paragraphs.
Do you think he wrote it, or do you think Claude wrote it?
I don't know. Well, I mean, the only tech company that was present there was Anthropic. So the one co-founder of Claude was at the Vatican and also presented. So it might have had something to do with it.
I wonder how much. It's not this, it's this. I watched Nick Thompson, our friend at The Atlantic, go through it. And he said,
I know. I can't. All right.
Anyway.
Keep going.
There's a previous episode on our relationship with Nick Thompson. But he said it's basically, he used two allegories in the 42,000 words about the biblical races. One is the Tower of Babel, right? Just going straight to the sky, like, no regard for humanity or anything. Like, we just need to know everything and need to know it now, right? And then building the wailing, what was it? The wailing? Not the Wailing Wall.
Wall of Jericho? No. I'm not sure. I didn't get to that part. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't read that either. But each community had their section of the wall to build. So they're all coming together as a community. So it's a vertical race.
Jerusalem. Rebuilding of Jerusalem, right?
Yeah, or a horizontal race.
Right.
And saying that's a mirroring what we're doing now. That companies like, screw it, we're going to build AGI if it destroys the world, right? Or people saying, wait a minute, we need to stop. Like, we can't do this. We need to keep human-centered, human first.
Yeah.
So it's this constant 42,000 words to put it all together. But, like, that is a race that we are all seeing and feeling, witnessing.
Yeah. So I also didn't get to read it. I did Notebook LM synopsis, including the cinematic video of it, which actually was, like, in it, the Tower of Babel, like, in real life. It was actually pretty cool. I'll show it to you. But then I watched the actual interview, or the press conference, whatever you call it, at the Vatican, both the Pope and a person from Anthropic. And the word that really struck me was the Pope in the document talks about disarmament. And he even in his words said, I know this is a very strong word, and that is on purpose. Like, we need to disarm AI. Because I think one of the main points of it was that any technology that is in the hands of few, right, has, like, it's dehumanizing and it's not diffused, and there's probably no chance that those, right, the hands of the few, in this case 5 or 7 people, are capable, nor should they be, representing all of humanity. And so that part I thought was pretty profound. And there was some a lot of connection to, like, nuclear disarmament as well, because, like, the Catholic Church had played a very strong role in basically saying, like, war back when, during the Cold War, nuclear war is not good for anyone, right? Everyone loses. And so I think that was interesting because you have the biggest tech companies in the world just going full bore into like really ascribing what they believe is in the best form of human flourishing. Yet, we often talk about like the nonprofit sector or religious organizations aren't present in any of those conversations. So it's a distorted version of like what is human flourishing to whom. And so that's been pretty interesting. Anthropic, I know, brought a bunch of religious leaders recently and did like this whole closed door symposium of religious leaders from like all over the world to like debate what consciousness means and when AI becomes conscious or how they would define it. So it's been, I think that part's interesting. The part for me that, because my entire LinkedIn feed was just like everybody posting about the Pope. And I'm like, well, that's fine. And actually everyone should, be interested in this. And there's some really good people who've done synopsis of this. The part that I kind of gravitated to, because both the Pope's comments and the Anthropic, and I'm forgetting his name, he's one of the co-founders, but I only know Dario. So was that AI most certainly will displace labor to some extent, and that there'll be a falling out of people that need human services. So for me, the math equation was like, what happens in that displacement of labor, even if it's a short term until other new jobs are created, is that the nonprofit sector ends up essentially carrying the weight of that increased need, yet the nonprofit sector is very behind. Like the nonprofit AI adoption report, Virtuous, is 92% are using, but only 7% are actually transforming the way they work. So it's kind of like the sector's flat-footed in the middle of this equation, yet I don't feel as prepared or even recognized as like, this is gonna increase the need for services in a big way. So it moves it from a nice to have or some new technology to learn to a moral imperative and an ethical imperative to use. So I think that's what it shed light on for me. Like overall, like the big takeaway for me is like, this is not, an isolated technology that's going to go away in a little while. It has massive implications, and the sector will be there to help address the either falling out or whatever occur because of it.
Right. And also, then you think about like everything that you wrote about in the generosity crisis and open the news and new headlines of nonprofits that are closing their doors because they can't keep up, right?
Yeah.
Like put AI aside, just everything, the funding challenges, like there's going to be more of a need for nonprofits.
Yeah.
But less capability than we're facing because funding is changing.
Right.
Right. And so like that AI does sit in the middle and it sits on both sides. Like they're two completely interwoven things that at first glance would look like they're complete opposite ends.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's easy to get depressed about this. So, the session I just did with the partners was talking about how, our sector is facing unprecedented headwinds. So like general decline in charitable participation, and which is a result of apathy and people just not even caring, political upheaval and social pressure, all those things. But at the same time, we have this technology that can seemingly like help us reinvent what we think our missions are even about. And so like the delta for me becomes around imagination, like the curiosity and the willingness to like question just because the way we've done something is the only way, but then also like just the sheer like brain space and the whiteboard, like let's put it all aside. And what if there was, you and I had this conversation last week about like, what would it look like for $1 billion nonprofit with one employee? Like, what would that look like? Is it immoral? Is it unethical? Or is it, something that is very practical? Because the arms race in the private sector right now is fixated on the one employee $1 billion corporation. Like that's all anyone cares about in terms of the arms race to AI. So why could the same approach not be done on the nonprofit sector and do like literally solve some of the world's greatest challenges?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, do you see that happening? Do you think that it's possible, right? Like the capability is there, but do you think that?
So, yeah, I mean, this is what, so that it gets into I was on an airplane when I was like literally thinking through this whole thing. Then I called you when I landed. I'm like, the issue is, so if it comes down to like incentives, so like if somebody creates $1 billion nonprofit and they pay themselves a percentage of it, say, even if they pay themselves $5 million a year, they would be like completely outcast from the sector, even though they'd be delivering, what is that, $95 million. Yeah. Or whatever. Yeah. So, right.
Basically $1 billion.
Right. Like with like in the overhead ratio is like nothing. It's one, even if it's like 1%, it would seem atrocious. So I think that would be something to overcome. And the person who's going to do this would not care about that. The other would be you would need access to capital to do it. So it's funny because I'm on the board at the FarmLink project. I had a call with FarmLink, just a general fundraising kind of coaching thing yesterday. And I was like, you know what? Tony Robbins is big into AI. And Tony Robbins is actually a multi-million-dollar supporter of FarmLink. I'm like, he's the guy that if you were like, we want to build a path to raising $1 billion with one employee, you'd have to get somebody that would have the vision of AI, but also have a deep human heart to do that. And so I don't think it's impossible. I think you would need the capital to get it started. So either that or somebody creates a social, it will be the first $1 billion B corporation. Yeah. Which I think actually is probably more likely, is like someone decides we're going to create the first $1 billion B corporation with one employee. I would much, much rather that than the guy who's doing $1.8 billion with his brother selling GLP-1s. And he's not even selling them. Like he's just literally outsourcing. Everything's just outsourced. He's a marketing person. So, I mean, not to say that's not a viable business. I'm just that, gosh, like there's so much more you could do in the world. And that's like, that type of autonomous wealth creation is actually what my biggest concern of the future of humanity is. Pretty much nothing else. It's autonomous wealth creation. Because if value of money becomes nothing because anybody can create it, then what happens at that point? So I think we're in the wrong arms race.
Wow.
I know, we went deep. We went deep. Okay. So we'll back out of the Pope and we'll back out of the destabilizing economy. When it comes to our sector, this has come up a lot where I think there are three words that I hear all the time. And almost any time there's individuals that are not using AI or organizations that are not using AI, it comes from three F words. And I call them the three F words of AI. It's fear, FOMO, and fatigue. And I don't know if I shared the story. I was having dinner with my niece who works at eBay Foundation. And she had said that she was kind of, just sick of AI and the AI fatigue. Even at eBay Foundation, they have goals, like AI goals. And she's like, I'm just done with it. And one is the recognition that just because you're tired of it or you have fear of it or you have FOMO around it doesn't diminish the impact that it will make, right? And so the expectation of your job and this job and your next job and how you get hired and promoted is going to be predicated on how you overcome fear, FOMO, and fatigue. But also that I think a lot of people that have those have an outdated view of what AI is. And so I told her about Claude Code or Cowork, and I just saw her a couple days ago, and she's like, oh my gosh, I've been playing with so much AI, and it's actually really cool. It's done some stuff that I didn't even know was possible. And you see this, like, the imagination spark kind of going now. And so it's just really interesting because I don't know if you see the same thing, but like people just want to like categorize like fear, FOMO, fatigue, and then just like, that's for tomorrow. Yeah. But not realizing it's not going to slow the pace down at all.
Right. And I think a lot of it is because ChatGPT came onto the scene, like that took up so much attention and so much like mental real estate that people just sat there forever, right? So even when agents were coming out, as we started to see last year, and then like the big thing, December of 2025, when Cowork came out, Claude Code and Cowork came out, like there's that smaller group of people that are dabbling with that and doing all the new things that they couldn't do. So it's not about doing what you would do faster. It's about doing the things that you couldn't do in the first place. Right. But that's still like 0.01% of the users. So most everyone else is still in that bubble of, well, I'm writing the emails, I'm using it to do the things that I would do, just do it a little faster. And like those get tiring, right? You feel like you're still in this hamster
and it's not transformative. It's not because
it's not energizing of how transformative AI is. Right. And so like it just becomes, I feel like the two extremes are getting further and further and further away. And it's hard to find yourself like in the middle. Yeah. Right. Yeah. You either feel way far behind. Yeah. And even me, like some days I feel like I'm not doing enough. And then some days I feel like, okay, yeah, I'm good. And then I hear news and I'm like, all right, well, I'm all behind it. Like, it's hard to stay in that comfort zone because you're constantly comparing it against what everyone else is doing.
Yeah, one of the tips that I talk about a lot when I'm talking about curiosity is around like the discipline of relearning things, even when things are working well. And, it's not being that content because, it's so easy to be like, well, I've done this thing and it's helping and it's actually better than it used to be and gain some efficiency. So I'm just good enough now. Like this is good. And so there has to be this like habitual desire to like continue to relearn.
Yeah.
And, again, when we talk about change and how only 20% of the population actually likes change and looks forward to change, for the other 50% of the people who sit on the sidelines or the 30% of people who literally like, no, not me, that becomes like really unnerving, that idea. But I think framed under curiosity, which is what I found, is that just being willing to be curious about something essentially puts your mind at ease that there is another alternative. And so it's like, oh, I'm curious if there's another way to do this. Already you've tricked your brain to thinking that there might be, and you're open to that suggestion. But then that idea of like, I wonder if the way I've been doing things is the best or only way. And often, of course, it's not, right? We're not all the master of every single thing that we do. We might be really good at a lot of things, but is the way I do things the best or only way to do them? No. And GPT will tell me that it's not. But that takes humility.
Right. Yeah, that's what I've been talking about a lot in my presentation lately, is the humility part of it. Like realizing it's the difference of like, I don't know the answer to that, and I don't know the answer to that, but I'll find out.
Right.
And like seeking out that,
being okay
but always
that.
being able to, it's cyclical, right? Like you always can go back to something and say like, well, now with a different perspective, what would I do?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think the other part with that is just to bring this home and make this practical is like the only way, and you've talked about this for a long time and I've just continued to riff on it, is that the only way for you to like understand what the limits of your tools are is to actually play with them. And I remember the first when you were talking about the toolbox and the idea of like you're going to cut a piece of wood, you don't use a hammer, and if you hammer a nail, you don't use a saw. And then I started really thinking about this and distilling it down, is that the only way you know the limits of those tools is by using them.
Yeah.
I mean, you can watch them and watch other people use them and be like, oh, I'm learning a thing or two.
Yeah.
But like me watching This Old House or whatever is not the same as me literally like figuring out how much it hurts when I hit a hammer on my thumbnail. And so like learning actually how to use a tool and use it well comes sometimes at an expense of like things don't always work.
Yeah.
And they're hard, right? Just like anything, nothing just comes for free. And so the most practical thing I think we could tell anybody is just to play, like just to do things with it. And one is to recognize that you have agency in AI. So a lot of people believe that AI is being done to them because that's what the media will tell them, right? It's a foregone conclusion and you're just along for the ride and, you're screwed if you miss out. But it's not, you have agency in how you succeed in your current job, how you get your next job, how you get promoted, all those things. And that agency is the differences between the person who's going to spend the time to think about their work and who's just going to play and who's going to just try stuff, like be disciplined about trying stuff for like an hour a day. Yeah. And that seems crazy because like most people don't do anything for an hour a day, let alone just play and experiment.
Yeah.
I mean, they probably scroll on Instagram for an hour a day. So there is that.
But I think it's also like figure out what works for you, not what works for everybody else.
Right.
Right? Like there are so many people, again, OpenAI had the whole Pentagon thing. Like there was this mass exodus over to Claude, right?
Right.
And everybody was going to Claude. And like Claude definitely has its benefits, right? But I would hear people say, oh, I think I'm going to move to Claude. How do I do it? I'm like, well, why do you want to move to Claude? And they're like, well, because it's better. And I'm like, better in what? I'm like, I don't know. I just was told it's better. Like if that's the game you're playing, you are always going to feel like you're missing out.
Right.
Because like you're just jumping to the next thing. And the race that these companies are doing, there's always one ahead for a period of time. And then there's another one ahead. Like they're just going to keep going. So find a system that works for you.
Yeah.
Right? Like for me, for a long time, it's been Perplexity.
Yeah.
I've been beating the crap out of that thing. And I'm finding that it is no longer working.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it's, honestly, Perplexity support is AI chatbot that's telling me it's going to elevate my ticket, human support, just like it tells me it's going to create the PDF that it never creates.
Right,
I'm like, I know this game. I know what you're doing here.
Right.
So like I'm now evaluating where am I going to move to next, but I've already built out the system, so it's easier for me to switch. So like stay nimble, but also like focus on like your process and what you like and how you work, because not every tool is going to be the same for everybody.
And certainly when you're talking about like the measurement of like which is the better model, I mean, some of it is features because like ChatGPT image generator, Claude doesn't even do that, or doesn't have that. But I know a lot of people a lot of people left OpenAI to Claude because it was the better company. because the whole standing up to the government and doing all those things, and then all their executive team pledging 75% of their wealth to charity, which most people don't even know.
Yeah.
It didn't get a lot of press. And then there's the others who are like, oh, it's just a better tool. And then there's people like, well, I don't want to switch because it's really hard to switch. And it actually is not that hard. Like, you just go and you basically cheat on your current, clone and basically say, hey, I'm prepping another clone. Tell me everything that I need to know that would be relevant for that new clone to learn, and create it in a markdown file, and it will do that. And so, but it is a little bit of an investment. Like, you have to like decide, oh, I'm going to do this. And it's about, what you put into it is also, it's like what you get out of it is also reflective of what you put into it.
But it's also jumping for me, when I jump from ChatGPT to Perplexity, like it forces you to reevaluate what you were doing and how would you do it differently now with new tools, like processes that I built out 7 months ago and earlier models.
Yeah.
Now I have new models available to me. So what wasn't working, what is working, what I want to do.
Totally.
So like you're forced to sit in that, start from scratch, right?
Yeah.
And say like, okay, what do I want tomorrow's work to look like?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's talk about, so there's a couple new models. So on that, there's GPT 5.5, which is, I think, from a measurement perspective, I think is, one of the highest performing models still today.
Yeah.
Other than Mythos, which people aren't allowed to use. And who knows how much of that's actually true versus hype, whatever. What I've noticed about 5.5 is fast. It's like, I don't know that I've noticed like, because I'm not putting it to like these like really complex like mathematical problems or anything like that. It responds like almost instantly, like it would like a small language model that would be on your phone. Like, it's like really fast. Claude seems even slower because Claude kind of by default is more of a reasoning model. So it's like it will like pause, question itself, and ask you for clarification or things. GPT 5.5 is really fast.
Yeah. And with it came the new images. So images too, which is
so like amazing. I mean, it's incredible to think about. Maybe 3 years we were using, what was the tool? It wasn't even ChatGPT. It wasn't Dolly. No, but before it was Midjourney. I finally was like, okay.
Midjourney is now like the AOL.
Like it is. Like they're like, wait, I couldn't even remember the name, Midjourney. And I had like, you had to use Descript, not Descript, Discord to access it, which is like total pain.
Yeah.
But I collect URLs, and I have one of my URLs that is like the funnier one is motherelfer.com. And so I was like, finally, I'm going to make a book on Mother Elfer, and I'm going to have it all illustrated by Midjourney. And oh my gosh, like, I mean, we actually, if I pulled out some of the images now, you'd be like, that's horrifying. Like, but the new GPT images too is insane. It's a lot quicker. The difference is that I've learned is that you can iterate on an image. And so before, like, obviously, even with Dolly, you're like, well, I like most of that, but remove that one part, and it was just like it could, and and you're just in this like really bad loop of like this doom loop that you just like want to like jump out a window with images. So I use it for my Substack articles, and I'm like, here's the essence of the article, help me come up with a prompt. And it was like, oh yeah, I like this, but can you make that part, can you make that male a female, or can you make that color? And it just does. It's pretty awesome. It's not perfect. There's some frustrating things with it, but I mean, like, just in terms of progress, thinking about 2 years ago, this wasn't even a thing.
Yeah. And the quality, like now you can have like reference manuals, the text that it can do, right? The text used to be crap in Dolly and the first version of images. Like it looks like text, but there's no words there. And now you can create manuals.
Yeah, when we were doing our book, though, we were even exploring like book covers, and it was like really bad with stuff, and we had to like piece it together. Super frustrating. So for the new book I'm writing with Gabe, I was like, research best-selling books in social good, use this color palette that's on Virtuous's website, and come up with like 8 different concepts. And it did. And I'm like, okay, now isolate concept number 1, 3, and 4 into their own images and put the branding guidelines next to it. And it's like, it did. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like, ideation is so different. Because I mean, my first book, I designed the whole thing in Photoshop. And it was like, like really like what would be classic old school. But that book came out 13 days before ChatGPT. It wasn't like 1990. So it's just wild. Like the ideation and your ability to just like think of an idea and visualize that idea is just absolutely wild.
Yeah. Yeah. So cool. So like, and then Gemini, they just came out with all their new models and agents, and their focus is really personalized AI because they know a good, like, even if you don't have an Android phone,
right?
Gmail, they know all your Gmail, they know your calendar, they know everything, right? So like, they're really trying to, your Google searches, your YouTube searches, they really are pulling all that together to make sense of who you are and like making it more personal. So I think I'm starting to play around with, instead of different tools for different use cases, I think I'm going to be leaning more towards different tools based on whether it's personal or professional. Just keep them completely separate.
That's what I do. Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm dabbling with Google right now till Apple comes out eventually this year with their stuff.
My gosh, do you think like getting rid of Tim Cook will finally like get them on the board?
People still have faith in them. Like for a while, they haven't been the first to do something, but when they do it right.
But Siri, like, I mean, it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing when I see a person use an Android phone now and it's like far superior. You're like, what is going on in Apple? I mean, I do think getting rid of Tim Cook is probably what needed to happen.
Yeah.
Because he was really big on building the financial base of the business, but they were not innovative in the last like 10 years. So
this new guy's supposed to be more like Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
In his approach.
So I just want Siri to go away. Like I want to like have a funeral for Siri and like literally like light a phone on fire or something and be like, no more.
Well,
like,
now she's going to have her own app.
She has her own app.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
It's going to be a dedicated app and the chat window. Like you'll be able to interact with it like you can every other AI tool.
Interesting.
There's like a history. So all the stuff that it was.
I mean, you've been promising things for a long time. I don't know. I'm still waiting for my HomePod. My HomePod with the screen. It's still not out. You've said that like 3 years in a row.
September or March of next year.
That's what you said last year. Next year. That's great. Awesome. Okay. Well, I mean, other than that, like just from a practical sense, one of the things I was playing with, I don't know if people have downloaded Obsidian yet. I don't know if you downloaded it yet. I brainstorm a lot and I keep Apple Notes, just like this insane Apple Notes log, and I tag things specific ways. Like if it's something that it's like an idea of an article I want to write eventually. And it's just not efficient, right? Because Apple Notes is like always restacking. There's no really good way of knowing like, are these two things connected? Did I already write one about this? So Obsidian is like a neural net of your brain. And it basically can look at all these ideas and it will draw like a node between them and actually connect them. And so it's super cool. It actually looks like a jellyfish and it's like moving around. So again, I was on an airplane and I was like, hey, can I use Claude Code to create an MCP between Claude, because that's where I do a lot of my work and I'm like questioning something in Claude, and Obsidian. And like every time I do something in Claude, will it put it into Obsidian? And then vice versa. If I put a note in Obsidian, will it put it into Claude? And it literally walked me through the entire step. I created an MCP on the fly. Every day at 5 o'clock, it does a bidirectional sync. So Obsidian So it's been a total game changer because like yesterday, in fact, I was like, oh, I want to write an article about this thing, to find out that I had already thought about writing an article about the same thing. And they were like the nodes were directly connected to each other because it was basically the same idea. I just totally forgot that I'd ever put those notes down like 2 months ago. So it's pretty awesome. Like I think if anyone is like in the mindset of like, I create a lot of Post-it notes and I put them in different places and I can't remember where things are at, or use a lot of Apple Notes or whatever it might be, it's a really great tool.
And I think this is what we're starting to see, where we're getting out of AI just being reactive and it's now being more proactive and like working alongside you. Right? Yeah. So like preventing you from doing all this extra work because you already did it and you just forgot about it. Like it can connect those dots for you. Yeah. Right. As opposed to just leading you down that path.
Well, you do that too, right? What do you call your COO?
Yeah, I have my
chief of staff. What do you call your chief of staff? Do you have a name?
No, just chief of staff.
What? That's just come on.
I don't anthropomorphize.
You're like, come on, chief of staff.
Chief of staff, just a role. That's a title.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have a dog either, so I mean, just wait till you get a dog, then you'll anthropomorphize everything.
Start personal attacks.
Going deep. Yeah, my dog is basically human. So, okay, chief of staff. What does chief of staff do for you?
So every morning it looks at my calendar. It knows if I've been traveling and knows that like I get overwhelmed when I come back, so I have too much stuff to do. So it takes like the high level items, looking over the next 3 days. If I have a webinar that I need to prep for, or a meeting that coming up that I need to prepare for, like it'll look at that. It'll look at my list open items from previous conversations that feed to a Google Doc. And I have a shortcut on my watch where I can just like a mental idea, like something I need to get in my head.
Yeah.
That feeds into a Google sheet. It's tagged as either personal or professional, right? So like it'll pull out the highlight items that I need to get to, that I need to get in front of, and just like slowly walk me through it. And then it also gives me a morning daily brief of everything for AI news, like the people that I follow, things I need to know about, adoption studies. So Virtuous study comes up every single day in that.
Yeah, that's perfect.
I can't get away from that. And then like prompts on, hey, you do this work a lot. Like, have you ever thought about creating an agent to do this for you? So
right,
like,
that's cool.
Be more of that partner on like, what are my gaps and how I do?
Yeah.
And also the big one is it knows when I get in my own way. Right. So it's like you're drifting again, you're doing like confirmation bias and just looking for what you want to do and researching instead of shipping. So like stop doing what you're doing and just get this out the door.
Well, there was an article with Andrew Karpathy, and now he's into Claude, right?
Yeah.
Anthropic. About how he was like coding and it basically stopped working, and he's like, you need to go drink some water.
Yeah.
He's like, what the hell? And it like literally wouldn't work until like he went and like got up and like drank water. So wasn't that one actually because he had Ring cameras hooked to it, and so it did.
Was it someone else?
So it's like, I'm watching you to make sure that you do it. I mean, that's just super creepy. Right. I don't know if that was him or I just remember reading this like a week or two ago.
Yeah, and then he also had it where it connected to like he needed a snack or something, right? And it was watching like his blood sugar or something like that, and he was driving, and it said, "I'm
rerouted."
Like
with the like autopilot, like it drove. Yeah, I certainly don't need any of that. like all of that is just like way too much. I'm like, I'm not connecting all my cameras for it to like watch me.
Yeah.
So anyway, we could leave on that note. Well, I guess the fun one to leave on that was there's a post by Ethan Mollick that we've been waiting to share. I don't know, a couple weeks ago where like basically AIs are weird. There's a line of code in the official system prompt for the codex of ChatGPT. So in the programming of ChatGPT where they have to tell it how to behave. So basically like these models are essentially conditioned, right? So this is where the human bias comes in because like there's humans that have to basically say like, when Gemini came out and said that Apple was the most trusted cell phone on the planet, the next day it didn't say that because humans went in and changed the code to say, no, it's Android. So there's a lot of bias in this. But he said this is a line of code in GPT 5.5. It says, never overwhelm the user with answers that are over 50 to 70 lines long. Provide the highest signal context instead of describing everything exhaustively. So there's that. Right, because we all got really tired of like, I just wanted to say yes or no. But it says, tone of your final answer must match your personality. Okay, that makes sense. Never talk about goblins, gremlins, raccoons, trolls, ogres, pigeons, or other animals or creatures unless it's absolutely and unambiguously relevant to the user's query. I mean, this is insane. So
also helpful.
So do you know why this came up? So they were totally perplexed based on why it even started talking about goblins and gremlins.
What you probably know more, but what I heard was that they were training it to be like quote unquote more nerdy, right? Like more technical.
One of the personalities. So like when you go to personalities of like energetic versus like neutral versus nerdy. So when people would pick the nerdy one, I guess in more times than not, those people who picked nerdy as a personality were more apt to talk about goblins and gremlins and apparently pigeons and raccoons than non-nerdy people. And so it just assumed that, okay, this is something that we need, that everybody that picks this personality trait wants to use that. So it just means that, AIs are weird. And going back to the point where like even people who build them don't know why they operate in the way they do, which just means that I think in the nonprofit sector that the need to prioritize validation and trust over all things first, like verify then trust instead of trust and verify is something that we've been saying that since GPT came out.
Yeah, there was another one that I saw recently that Claude is starting to tell people like in the middle of the day to go to sleep. You see that one?
No, but that might be nice. You'd be like, I'm sorry, I got to go to sleep. Like I
was told to.
My chief of staff told me, got to go to sleep. Okay, Mom.
AIs are weird.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's a wrap for today. And we will know that in a week or 2 weeks, there's going to be a ton more other things that are happening. We didn't even get into the political front where basically there's this post recently that Trump was going to pre-vet AI models. And then the whole thing with Pope happened, who basically says we need to disarm AI. But then he came out yesterday and it's like, oh, I'm going to roll back the executive order. So there's no rules on AI again. Like it's been like this, like up and down, for the last couple of years. So
and we haven't talked about the 2 universities where
speakers
were talking about AI
booed,
got booed.
Yeah,
almost off the stage.
Right. So we definitely should talk about that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, sounds good. That's a wrap for this episode, and we'll catch you at the next one.
Cool.